Just first off, Talbot will back up tonight. Forsberg will start. He is capable to go in if we need him. Zub is for sure the next couple games out, and then we'll see after that.
Looks like you're switching centerman on the top two lines, Coach. Is that what you're probably looking at tonight?
Yeah, I think we're at home here. We get last change. I think, we want to go against some of their lines with what we think is some of our better defensive centers, defensive players. Clearly this team's won 5 in a row, maybe the best team in the league right now, probably the best defense. What they're giving up, which is almost nothing. In saying that, we got to make sure we're giving up a lot less.
Will you keep Hellberg around, or will he be waived today? Or
that's for Pierre. I think Pierre makes the personnel decisions, and I coach. So that'll be Pierre's decision. Certainly, he played a great game for us, and with all the injuries that happen to goalies these days, he'll be around here for the next little bit. Obviously, those two guys will be in there tonight.
You hit the 10-game mark of the season tonight. It's kind of maybe a natural time to assess things big picture. So how would you assess your team as we hit the 10-game mark?
Well, going into it, I would say 10 games we wanted to be at least 5-5. That's fair. 8 of the first 10 games that we were playing were against playoff teams from a year ago. Clearly we were in a real good spot at 4-2. We're not so, but we have an opportunity for that tonight. Not that it gets any easier, but 8 of the first 10, if you look at the teams we played, are real and teams that are contending. But I think after tonight we'll know where we stand with that. But we know when we play good, and we know what our recipe is for us to play good, and we know what doesn't work for us. That's clear after 9 games.
And when you look at these last 2 games and you talk about a recipe, like what is it? I assume very frustrating as a coaching staff when you see 4 really good games like you had at times in the home set. Is there something you can put your finger on? Like why is it a home road thing, or is there something you can put your finger on?
Well, clearly we've had a real issue shutting down the other team's top players. I mean, if you look at the teams that Florida, Kachuk had 1-1 or 1-2, Barkov 1-2, Verhaeghe 1-2. That's their top line. Kucherov, Point. I mean, it's their top players going off on us, and that can't happen if you're going to win. I mean, you look at the games we won at home, our top players went off, and then we win. So we've got to do a better job against top players.
How much of an impact?
At all about the possible sale of the team, and do you talk to the players about that?
No. I mean, they have a job, we have a job. That has nothing to do with us. If they were to tell us that's their business, but our job is to just do what we do.
Zubing out the next few games changes your defensive end. How do you need players to step out and really fill the void that he's left? Well,
it's a hard void, but you can't have excuses. What's that going to help us? So someone has to play better, and our forwards have to help the D more. We have to track harder so that we can break out better and spend less time in our zone. But to say that you're going to replace him, you're not. Someone has to play better.
Was there any thought of a recall from Belleville, the defenseman?
You'd have to ask Pierre. At the end of the day, I think Pierre and the development staff and his management staff has done a really good job at developing these players. And if they don't want to recall them, it's obviously because they feel, or whoever that is, that development, it may affect them. And now at some point, we've got to do what's right. And if we think players are clearly better, I'm sure Pierre will make that decision. But there's more that goes into it than just that. I think if you look at the development of the players, I think it's fair to say that they've done the right things by these young guys over the last few years.
What have you seen from Vegas under Bruce Cassidy?
Well, they're healthy is the biggest thing. I think last year when they had guys out, Martinez especially, Eichel wasn't at full force coming off his injury. Stone was hurt. They had a bunch of injuries. Now they're healthy and they're playing real hard. Like I said, that defense back there, if you look at that crew, they're 5-6 of Hague and Whitecloud. That's the best 5-6 in the National Hockey League, I would say. And then their top 4 have won Stanley Cups. They know how to play. And I think that's the biggest thing for them, if you asked, is they're healthy.
Do you anticipate Talbot starting on Saturday? Is that kind of where this is
Yeah,
heading?
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how practice goes tomorrow, and we'll see how Forsey is tonight. And but the plan is we got to get him playing. I mean, he's an all-star goalie, and he hasn't played through the opening 10 games. I mean, that's we got to get him in some games. We know he can help us, and we know he'll give us a bit of confidence too when he gets in there.
And you wouldn't mind having a tandem there rather than having Forsberg play 8 of 9 or whatever it's been,
For
right?
sure. And nonetheless, like I said, he's an all-star. He's one of the, when he's on, he's as good as anyone in the league. So, he's going to steal you the odd game, and that's part of it. I mean, there's goalies out there that steal games for teams, and Forsey's been really good. But he's the kind of guy that can steal you a game as well. So, and he's mature, and he's going to have the room ready, and he'll say the right things to the guys. He's demanded that respect. That I think you'll see the guys play real hard in front of him as well.
You mentioned that you knew what the recipe was for your team. What is that?
Well, for us, it's work based when it comes to the system play, and it's going tracking, it's blocking shots, it's doing all the hard things, and it seems easy to say, but the team that does that the most, on top of the fact obviously you need skill and you need all those things, but when you play that hard away from the puck, you have a chance every night in this league. And the games that we've won, I think we've played fast, we've played hard, the shots have been way down, we've really tracked, we've worked as a group of 5, and the games that we lost, it's been way looser, and clearly we know the difference.
What putting Pinto with Kachuk and Batterson, what do you want to see from those 3 tonight?
Well, they're going to go head-to-head with either Carlson or they're going to go head-to-head with Eichel, depending on the face-off and where it's at, and they got to be even or better for us to win. I think it gives them a challenge. It gives them a purpose. I think Pintz, it's probably rushing him a bit, but in saying that, he's strong. He's played really well, and he, at this point, with 3 games at home, I think it's a perfect time to try it.
You've often put Branstrom and Chabot together, snuck them in 5-on-5, advantageous offensive starts, those types of things. What do you need to see out of them 5-on-5 if they're going to play together tonight, Saturday, in Zub's absence, I guess?
Well, the offensive blue line, I need lots of shots. I need them to create stuff there. Off the rush, I need them to defend it. In the D zone, I need to get them and get it out quick. And, if that recipe doesn't work, then we have to make certainly we'll make another switch. But we've got to be able to break pucks out, and we're expecting both those 2 to do it.
And we tend to focus so much on your defensive zone and sometimes the coverage. But how much is it puck management 200 feet in the other direction? And do you feel like that's been a bit of an issue for your team? Is that maybe just a little careless with the puck in one zone and it ends up coming back 200 feet the other way?
Yeah, for sure. If you're not holding on to the puck in the O zone, you're tired playing defense. I mean, it's the exact same system we won 4 games in a row with a week ago and allowed almost no zone time. I think we were 8th in the league in zone time a week ago. It's the exact same system we're playing, 3 games later. Are you fresh when you're in your D zone? Or are you tired and you're stressed when you're coming back into your zone? And saying that, when you go on the road and those top lines of Barkov and Kachuk and these guys, they're good at what they do, and they break you down. And so does Point, and so does Kucherov. Clearly, they've won 2 Stanley Cups. But if we can be better in the offensive zone, we're going to spend less time in the O zone. But that's part of it. As D, some of those D got to get more shots through. They've got to keep more pucks alive. So we don't have to play as many minutes in our zone. No matter what system you're playing, if you're going to spend lots of time in your zone, eventually you're going to make mistakes.